So, what do we have here? What am I holding in my hands right now?
You hold a piece of technology right there. So, you know, we have a little bit of windsurfing background, and spinnaker cloth, which is used in most wings today and in the kites, is something we would actually never even think about putting into a windsurfing rig. So we thought it would also be smart to put a proper cloth, a durable cloth, a strong cloth into the X-15 Wing. So what you can see here is actually Ultra X. This material is strong, it lasts long, it doesn't stretch, and it is only 86 grams, so it is as light as the canopy from the normal spinnaker cloth. So that's the number one part.
Wow, fantastic. So, because it's so strong, you know, and unfortunately, like sometimes you were dealing with foils, which are somewhat pointy, and wings, which, you know, is a material. And sometimes the two, when they come together, they don't mix all that well. But because this is so strong and it has the Ultra PEX, what happens then if the foil happens to touch the canopy?
So, you know, these foils, if they come at high speed towards the canopy, they may dent through, but it doesn't rip any further because you have all the cross segments that stops that. It's a ripstop material, you could argue.
So if I'm out there and I'm going towards the start line and I crash and my foil goes through the canopy, I'll still be able to go out and continue my day of racing.
You can continue the day, you can continue your week or your month. It just doesn't rip any further.
Good.
So that is very important. And also the material doesn't stretch over time. So for the first event and for the 15th event, still that material is very strong. So it isn't like usually, you know, after 2 months, it's stretched out. Hey, we keep the properties. So it's very important that you can use the same wing throughout the year. And as we are offering one wing per rider, it's important that this wing will be used a lot and therefore can take a lot of hours in the wind.
Fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this wing over for a second. And having a look at the underside of the canopy, we see some things that I've not really seen much of before. And first of which would be these big black lines on the back of the canopy. Could you explain what I'm looking at here?
Yeah, right. So basically one day a little while ago I was out winging and it was too windy. So I got out of control. Yes. So I went back, took my zipper, cut away the area that you can see where the black lines are, and I went out and then I was in total control. I could go upwind better than ever. It felt like a super high efficient wing. So we thought, well, if it's like that, then maybe we can even offer that to the market. Maybe we can have it in a way where we are actually able to zip off and zip on that part of material, so we can use the wing for light wind and for high wing.
So that's going to be extremely important with, you know, a one design class. You have one wing. As we learned, we have the option of one board, 3 different front hydrofoil wings, but we only have one free wing to choose from depending on your age groups. So that being said, we need to be able to adjust, like in windsurfing, a downhaul or an outhaul, in kiting, a depower line, our wings, correct? So that was the idea behind creating these reefing technology, right? Like you could almost say it's, you know, you're like reefing your mainsail in a way.
Absolutely.
Cool. Will you go ahead and hold this? I want to try and unzip it.
Yes.
Okay, so we have these little, this line here that's going to go around this bit. Now, I think a lot of folks are going to have questions about the zipper itself because, you know, zipper, maybe we're talking about zipper in sand. You know, for those that have board bags are quite familiar that zippers and sand don't necessarily mix. Can you explain to me how this is going to last durability-wise over a season or two?
Yes, okay. First of all, we all have our board bags and clothing bags, and we stuff them really strong, very hard. So we put a lot of tension on those zippers. Here there is basically no tensions. You never need to push them hard together. So that's number one. There is no tension here really. Number two is that as long as you always clean the zipper before we actually put it on or take it off, let's say just put it in water, then everything is fine. If I now put this into the sand and put sand into it and try to zipper it up, it won't be a great result. Just
Right.
like if you put a lot of sand into your foil assembly, it also wouldn't work. So just clean it up a little bit and we are safe. And you know, very important here is that the zipper and the zipper wagon, both are made out of plastic. So it doesn't corrode. Some of you have bags, you know, the bags where you have like a little metal wagon that goes on a plastic zipper, that corrodes. It doesn't work very well.
Because of two different types of materials.
So this just lasts and lasts and lasts. So it is a pretty cool, well-proven technology. And maybe you can explain what happens when you are out there and it's just too much wind and you are out on the water.
You can imagine that you're out in the water, it gets too windy. Say you're at a training camp or you are going to race. You sit down in the water, you can unzip these yourself. It is important to hang on to them, and then you can go ahead and roll them up, and depending if you are close to your coach boat or not, you can pass them to your coach boat, stick them in your harness, your impact vest, and sail them over to the coach boat to drop it off and continue your day of training and racing. Let's go ahead and chat a second, Sven, about this boom that we have here. This boom is quite narrow, and you know, booms have been evolving within wingfoiling, coming from windsurfing. Can you talk a little bit about the specifics for this boom that's on the X-15 Wing?
Well, first of all, you know, it's like having something that's quite narrow in the grip is important, not only in the summer, but particularly in the winter where you may use gloves. So skinny grip, very important. Number two is that it needs to be very strong and very stiff. So we worked with our carbon mast and boom supplier to really make something that is ultra light. So the whole boom together with the inserts or the sidearms is at 275 grams, so super light, very strong. Actually, our machine couldn't handle to break it at 278. The test machine gave up. It's a very strong piece of material here.
Excellent, that's fantastic. So continuing with some of the smaller features, it looks to me like these are new types of valves. Can you speak a little bit about the types of valves that we have on the wing here?
Yes, so these are the mini valves where basically there is no cap coming over.
Okay.
And it's just a little bit more aerodynamic. We don't have any big hats coming up.
Yes.
And you can also use the same pump connection as you have on an inflatable paddleboard, for instance. It's just very simple. You know, you go here and you can also adjust if you're out there and you want to, let's say, have a little bit more twist and flex in your wing. Because what happens is if you have a lot of PSI in your wing, the wing becomes stiff. If you reduce PSI a bit, the wing becomes softer and you can flex it more, you can pump it more. So it's better in very light winds. Or if you're totally overpowered, you can also release a bit, then the wings will flex out again. So it's very important to have these kind of valves for racing so you can adjust.
Wow, fantastic. And since we're at the leading edge of the canopy here, or leading edge of the wing here, can you talk a little bit about the difference of why there is, you know, a white section here and the red section here?
Okay, so of course we really like the color red because it's easy to see from a distance. Sometimes
so it's a big safety feature.
I mean, you have 50 people over the starting line and it's important to see a little bit. So that's one part. Now we have a higher grade, a heavier material in the front. Because,
why did you put that there?
Yeah, because where you have the thickest leading edge, that's where you have the most pressure. There's more PSI field for the seams in this area. And also it is where you have your handle. Maybe sometimes you get dragged through the shore break, and then it's important that this area is just stronger than the rest of the area. And also having a little bit of extra weight here doesn't quite matter because it's close to you. Whereas at the wingtips, it should be lighter, so a lighter type of Dacron towards the wingtips.
So you just mentioned Dacron. Can you explain why we are using a Dacron material for a race wing?
Yes, so when you have a small race wing like a 4.5 and a 5.0, it's okay to use Dacron. It's a strong enough material for that. When we are coming to the bigger wings, 5.5, 6.0 and 6.5 for a senior class, we want to have more PSI in the wing because it's a bigger frame. And that's when we use hook keeper, that is a stronger material by all means. Also we're having we feel that for the junior class we need to have something that is, let's call it, is easier to buy for people.
Yeah. Fantastic. This wing also reminds me very much of the Air V4 of the FreeWing model. Could you speak a little bit on that?
Yes, so actually this wing is pretty much an Air V4 by many means.
Okay.
The main difference is that for the 4.5 and the 5.0 we do have the zipper. Otherwise it's really an Air V4, which is a super well received wing amongst all our pro teams and
Yes.
all our testers. So it's a wing that just gives you a lot of instant power and very easy to control overpowered. And you get great upwind angle.
So as a reminder for those just jumping in, the 4.5 and also the 5, those are developed for the U13 class, 4.5 for U13 and then 5.0 for U15. So when I go ahead and take this off, you know, we had a 4.5 to begin with. About how much material did I just take off here? And if I were to take the other side as well, what becomes
Yes.
the overall square,
Yeah.
you know, complete area of the wing? What's
Yeah.
the size of the wing when I
Yeah.
take off the reefing sections?
So on the 4.5 you remove approximately 1 square meter. So you're down to a 3.5 to a 3.6 approximately.
Which is a pretty good size considering, you know, 13 years old or younger.
Yes.
And so it would be the same, is it the same removable size all the way through?
Well, when you come to the larger size, if for instance we're looking at the 6.0, then we are reefing that to approximately 5.9. And if it's a 6.5, we're reefing that to approximately 5.3. So
Okay.
the bigger wing, the more we can reef it.
And speaking of the bigger wings, let's have a look at this wing here.
Oh yeah.
This wing, also an X-15 wing, looks a little bit different from the Dacron 4.5 that we had here just a second ago. We still have the zippers, we still have a very strong handle, our valves are the same, our window positions are the same. However, there's a few different things that also look new here. Our leading edge material is a little bit different, and then we have this material here coming off the leading edge. Why don't you start here? What is going on here? Can you explain it to me?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, as we have a lot of background from windsurfing, you will see that all high-performance windsurfing sails, including the IQ foil sails, do have a double surface. The first, at least 30%, and maybe up to even 35%. It is to avoid all the turbulence behind the leading edge. So that's very important. How does it feel? Well, you get a lot more stability in the wing. You can point higher, and it just feels better throughout. So it's kind of a big step, I think, in windsurfing. Nobody will win a race unless they had the double profile.
So you could compare, you know, a double surface wing, double profile wing to, say, cambers on a slalom sail.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think if you look in America's Cup, they're kind of doing something similar. Of course, the leading edge is skinnier, but it's definitely double surface all the way through. It's the next adventure of let's call it efficiency. We developed this 3 years ago. We're just a little bit slow to bring it to market.
Well, it's pretty unique to be bringing it to market and developing it straight into a one design class where people get high performance equipment and also the ability and the opportunity to try something new that is, you know, progressing the sport as a whole.
But Fiona, when you were trying this and you pulled it out of the water, did you feel if any water got stuck in these pockets?
You know, that was a big concern because a primary focus when we're, you know, talking about this class is safety. You know, that's why we have boards that look a little bit different than the typical wing board that's out there today because A, we want performance, and also we would like safety. So when I was out there sailing, you know, say you have a crash and say you get some water up in here, I found that it was really quick for the water to drain out. So there was never any issues of the wing getting pulled down and the water was being released from the double surface very quickly.
So what really happens is that this is fully open. It doesn't matter if it's a double skin or not. The water drains out at the same speed.
Yes.
So that is fully functional. Now if you look at the material, can you feel it's a bit of a different material?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this material is Hook Keeper or Ultra PE, and what we can see is that it's extraordinarily strong for abrasion. So if, you know, after a year or two, you know, on the rocks a little bit and here and there, you know, it's a very, very strong leading edge material.
Absolutely. And now, because, you know, we talked about the Dacron 4.5, 5.0, and very similar to the technology and the development that has gone into Air V4. Could you speak a little bit of a comparison between the FreeWing Pro that we have, and the X-15 larger size wings?
Yeah, okay, so the Pro V2 and the X-15 wings they're basically the same wings. It's just that in the Pro V2 program, we're using Aries material that is a little bit lighter and has a little bit more reflex, but it isn't quite so strong. So during the season, you know, it may actually rupture. But for the pros, they will normally have 2-3 wings, maybe 4. So they can choose between different wings. So maybe each wing gets used only 30%, compared to these wings that will be used 100% of your time. So here we chose Ultra PE Hook Keeper, whereas for Pro V2 we chose Aries, which is a little bit more reflex feel, but it doesn't have that durability.
So durability is another really key important feature with developing a class, especially since we're focusing on youth and juniors. Technology, high performance sailing, technology, high performance wing foiling, innovative concepts, safety, and durability are all elements that are coming together in the X-15 class. So this is a 6 meter here that we're looking at. The age ranges that can race a 6 meter is everybody up to U19. So the 6 meter is the wing for U19. However, if you have a 15-year-old kid who really wants to race in U19 class, or perhaps is a bigger individual, they're welcome to race on the 6 meter. We always want to be able to make sure that kids can race ages up. You just wouldn't be able to race on wing sizes and in classes younger than yourself. So that's something to keep in mind too, is like this wing has the potential and is realistically the wing that anybody in the U19 class can use.
This is good. A couple of small things that you put into action, Fiona, amongst them being, in case we're removing the removable part. Maybe you can share with us the thinking behind this.
Yeah, so you can imagine that say you're a coach on a coach boat, and all of a sudden everybody comes back to the boat because the wind died, and you're working with 3 sailors, maybe you're working with 5 sailors, and everybody's asking for their reefing sections to come back. It's really important to be able to know which reefing sections go with each wing. So for example, we have created a number here that matches with a second number that's also on our center strut. So it's really easy to see, okay, this race wing was Sarah's, and Sarah's race wing is right here. We're gonna go ahead and put these two together. The whole goal with all of the X-15 class is to develop wing foiling and to develop a youth class structure, pathway forward for all sailors, so everybody can improve, have fun on the water, and also improve their skills, not just as individuals. So little things like that will make the class simpler for everybody involved, for the sailors, for the coaches, for federations, for parents, are all super key elements to making sure that when the kids go out in the water, they can go out and have the most fun possible.
Good, so a couple of minor details more. We have bladders here that are very, very strong, super strong bladders. And at the same time, we look at weight. And if you look at the zipper, each zipper weighs 50 grams. So it means altogether that extra set of style is only costing us 100 grams altogether. So it's minimal added weight for a huge, let's call it, performance opportunity. We've been trying to sail this wing with and without the parts.
Yeah.
How did you feel when we removed?
So there's when the conditions are light and you want some power to be able to get up, of course you want the full capacity of the wing. You know, it really helps with the low end sailing. However, as breeze gets stronger and it's easier to get up on your foil, you don't need as much initial power. When you remove the reefing sections, all of a sudden the power moves further forward in the wing. So it becomes a lot more powerful right in front of where your body is. This helps drive your speed forward and actually helps with acceleration. So we found that speed is increasing, of course, as the wind is increasing, but your control is also increasing when you're removing the sections here. The other thing that also helps a lot, because the center force, the drive, is further forward, the power section of the wing comes further forward. It helps through your maneuvers, like for example your tack. There's a lot more power pushing up in the wing because there's less material behind, creating more drag. So both are very unique for what they want to do, what we want to see out in the water, you know, high performance racing, but then also usability, inclusivity, entrance for lighter conditions, perhaps lower experienced riders, but it's pretty fantastic to be able to get both sides in one wing.
So what we found when we tested this was, if you had a 6 meter where we removed the part and then to become approximately 5 meter, we tested that against a normal 5 meter, and many of us actually preferred to have the 5 meter that then was a 5 meter due to having removing the areas. That is because it's a higher aspect wing. So we are pointing better upwind. You get more power to point upwind. So it is wonderful to see that such a simple concept actually can add to the performance.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Sven, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with all of us and share with the world the development concepts that have come in behind it, adding a bit of personal experience and a bit of information to the class. We look forward to seeing a lot of young wingfoilers out in the water, and you know, thank you for the opportunity for creating this for the sport as a whole.
Thank you, Fiona.
See you out in the water.